Hello and welcome to an Impact Gamers tutorial using Clickteam Fusion Free Edition, and we're making a one-click game. It's the fourth part of a series, and the first part we've set up a template, and this part, like the others, we're going to do an example game. So in Clickteam Fusion, I'm going to carry on from the template in session 1 and go into the frame of the game. I'm just going to zoom out so I can see everything, maybe a bit more. And so what we're going to do in this game is we're going to have a game where we have a character that moves left and right and has objects falling from the top. So a bit like the Eternal Runners that you have in 3D, but in 2D. So we're going to have obstacles and bonuses dropping from the top and the character going left to right. But it's only one click, I hear you shout. Yep, we're going to have the character controlled by the computer, and clicking will reverse direction. So we're going to insert a new object, and it's active because it's going to be moving, and I'm going to press F2 to rename it, and I'm just going to call this player. I'm then going to change its movement type, and bouncing ball movement is what we're going to use. It allows the computer to control the movement of it, and it's got a lot of settings that are going to be useful. So we're going to start off with the initial direction. We're going to reset so it doesn't choose any of these, but only chooses right. And also the speed's going to be too quick, so I'll drop that down to 40. Okay, if we run our application, first of all, just check that in our properties of our application that we resize. Yeah, we do resize. So if we run our application and click to go on to the next one, there it is, slightly out of proportion, but if we restart, there it is, just traveling off the screen. So let's add in the events. We've got a previous event we just need to delete, and to delete an event you right click on the number of the row of the condition that you want to get rid of and press delete. So we're back to how it would be if you just made this game from scratch. No conditions and no events. So a new condition, and first of all we're going to say if the mouse clicks, but just because of the nuances of clicking that they don't react quite quickly, we're also going to put a keyboard press in here. So we're going to add an OR statement in. So I'm going to right click on the words and add an OR logical, and then right click on the words again and insert a new condition, the keyboard upon pressing a key, and spacebar. So now any of the events on this line will activate if we click on the screen or we press spacebar, and I'll be using spacebar because it'll respond a bit better, just because of the fact of clicking will wait for a double click before it activates, so it's not so quick. So if we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to actually toggle the direction of the player. Now the thing that's easy to toggle is something called flags. They work a similar way to a light switch, as in they have on or off, and if you press them, it will change from on to off, and if it's off, if you press it, it'll change from off to on. So we're going to use the flags here, and we're going to toggle, and it'll ask us for which flag number, and we've got a choice of 31 flags in the free edition, and we're just going to use flag 0. It doesn't matter which flag you use, but might as well use 0 for this because we don't have any other ones. So flag 0 will change when we press spacebar or click. So how's that going to work? Well, we need to add another condition to check. Now, it doesn't have flags here unless we look under alterable values. They're hidden under the alterable values in the conditions, so don't worry about that. We're going to check if a flag is off, because it automatically starts as off. Okay, flag 0, is it off? If it's off, I want to right click and I want to change the direction, and I want to select the direction, and that's the direction I want, direction 0 to the right. So it starts off going to the right. To save a bit of time, I'm going to... I can't edit this because we'll change the flags. I want a new condition for on. So I need to click new condition, alterable values, flags, is it on? So you can't just edit the condition to change it to off. You have to do an on. You have to add a new condition in. So a new condition, the same way, but this time we're choosing is flag on rather than is flag off. And we set the direction to left, so this time we're going to set the movement, the direction, not the movement, select direction, right, left. Oh, just do as I do, don't do as I say. Right, so it's going right when the flag is off, and it's going left when the flag is on. So now if I run, I'm just going to run the frame to jump straight to it. If I press spacebar, or if I click, it changes direction. See, if I double click, only changes direction once. Okay, so it's moving left and right, but when it hits the edges, I didn't demonstrate it, when it hits the edges, it's still going to disappear. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a new condition. If the player's position, test it. If it's going out on the right, then, or if it's going out on the left, this might work, should work, we'll see. Then we can toggle the switch. So I'm just going to drag that tick down, but that's accessible if you right click and then flags, toggle and choose 0. So we're going to toggle it. So if I just run my frame, it hits the edge and bounces off, hits the edge and bounces off. Now, if you're very accurate, you might be able to get to hit the edge and then you reverse it immediately. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you see, I did, yeah, I can get it, force it off frame. I thought that might happen. Okay, so I'm going to change my rules a bit to tidy that up a bit. You could have that as part of your game, and you could say new condition when your position, if they go outside, then it's, you know, next frame to the game over, to the end screen. But if you want to tidy it up, let's just have a look at tidying it up. We will or delete all of that, and we'll have a new condition, and we'll check their X position, which is where they are along the screen, left and right. Now, if their X position is greater, so they've gone further than the frame width, so they've gone further than the frame width, but I'm also going to minus their own width off it. Let's have a look under position, and just because where it's loaded, let's have a look under position and width. But we're going to minus half of it, and the easiest way to half something is times it by 0.5. So if it's gone further than the frame width minus half of it, so if it's about to go off screen, then that's going off on the right, and so we want it to start going left, which means we turn the flag on. So we're onto the flags, we'll set on to flag 0. And this is going to be a simpler rule for going off on the left, because it's just going to be when its position, its X position is lower than half of its width. Now the reason it's half of the width is just because where it measures, it needs to be 0.5. Because, and we need to set it to on, because, I'll get that, because on the player, where it measures things from is it measures things from this thing called the hotspot, and that's in the middle. So that's why I minused half of it. So it's if that touches the edge of the screen, it's actually half a width away from the edge of the screen, and that's why I minused the half there and checked for the half there. So let's run the frame. So now the bouncing's working fine. Okay. Yep, and I can't actually force it off enough there. Brilliant. Okay, those are better rules, slightly more complicated, but if you're willing to give it a try, give that a try, and make sure that you have a nice green valid expression, because if you get things wrong, it just won't let you. It won't let you press OK. Right. Good. So the next thing we need to do is we need to have some kind of power-ups or bonuses and obstacles. So let's add some more active objects. So we're going to insert an active object that's going to be used as a spawn point. So I'm going to call it spawn, and just save time, I'm going to colour it black. Change the tolerance up nice and high so that it can fill in most of it all at once. Okay, so there's a spawn point. I'm going to add another new object, active. Okay, drop it down. This is going to be something good, a coin, and then insert another new object, something active and bad. Now, so that I know which one is which, I'm just going to edit the pictures here. So double click, and good can be yellow, nice yellow coin, and bad can be red. So there we go. Now, the aim is that from the spawn point at the top, things will drop downwards. So we need to add a movement to these, and we're going to use the bouncing ball trick again to get it to be a bouncing ball so the compute controls it, and reset and just down, and we'll change the speed to be a bit slower, maybe 50. And then for the coin, we're going to set it to be bouncing ball, initial direction, reset. So if you're smart, you can use your clone. You can set one up and clone it so that you have two objects that have the same movement types. I'm going to set this one to be the same speed. Is it 50? Did I say 50? Yes. Right, so when we start a game, they will fall down like so and affect us in no way. So let's get this spawn point working. And we're going to do it with the timer. And we'll do it every quarter of a second. We're going to get the spawn point to think of a number. Now, each object contains something called alterable values, which flags are used for on and off. Alterable values are used for numbers. So we're going to set its alterable value. Just have to move that again. Alterable values, there we go, set. And we're going to set it to something random. So a random number out of, let's say, 20. So it's going to think of a random number between 0 and 19, just because of the way that the random command works. And it's going to do that every quarter of a second for each individual spawn object. We've only got one, but we'll add more later. So a new condition, if it thinks of the number 1, so if alterable value A, which is what we set to be random, if it's equal to 1, we then want the spawn point to create an object which is actually here. So you create things under this sort of glass shiny box here, creating objects. We want to create an object, and we want to create, doesn't matter, but we'll do the good one, and we want it to be relative to wherever the spawn point is. So if you click on spawn point, 0, 0 to the spawn point. Great. Make sure it is relative to. So there it's created. Now it's going to keep on creating those till it thinks of a different number. Let me demonstrate. So we'll get a huge burst of gold coins coming out. There we go. And there we go. Which looks beautiful, but it's not what we want. So we're going to immediately, on the same event, we're going to reset the alterable value. We're going to choose, I've done it again. So alterable value is going to set it to be 0 again. There we go. And then it will just drop 1. Now I'm going to copy this because I need something similar. So I'll drag the words onto the words and double click 2. If it's 2, we're going to create a different object. We're going to create a bad object, and it's going to be relative to the spawn point again. And we're going to set that back to 0. So now we have, or if I make it a bit easier, these now exist in our game by being created. So I can actually delete these and they'll still exist within our workspace because they're being created within the spawn point. So if I run the frame, I might get a good thing, might get a bad thing. Let's see. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Great. Doesn't affect us at the moment. Getting any good things? No, just bad things. Hey, good thing. Right, so let's make it so we can see what's happening. We're going to add a score in so that we can see how well we're doing, and always place it on the right hand side of the screen because they expand to the left and lives shrink to the left. So put your lives this side if you're going to have lives. Now I'm going to move the spawn point just outside the screen, not too far, so it remains in the computer's memory, and I'm going to do something called duplicating it to make the same thing lots of times, and columns go along. So I'm going to say, I'm going to have a good guess. I'm going to make 10 of them, and I'm going to space them 1 apart. So they're 32 wide, so have a gap between each one. Nearly, I need another 2, don't I? So let's do that again. Undo, that was Control and Z. Duplicate, so I'll go a bit higher. I'll go for 14, and then I can delete the ones I don't need. Column spacing, there we go. And I'll get rid of those ones. And there we go. Oh, another neat trick. If you just move one to the end to where you want and select them all, we have a range, and you can space the objects exactly by choosing space horizontal. So drag a box around all the ones you want, or you can also click on here and it'll select them all, and then do that. Okay, so we now have spawn points dropping things from the sky. Let's just add a new condition that if a good coin collides with another object, that it gets destroyed, but we get some score. And remember, this isn't actually the score. It represents the score, shows the score, but our score is controlled here. So we want to add to the score. Let's give ourselves 10 points, being generous. And a new condition, if the red one collides with us, then, sorry guys, it's going to be game over. So we'll go to the next frame. So I'm just going to save as, so I don't lose any of my work. And this is the 4th tutorial. And try running the frame. So great. Now, if you want to be super clever about what you're doing, you could have it that the randomness, that random 20 that we put, gets more and more likely. So the more and more likely it is, the more bad things will drop. So we could have it as soon as it drops to random. Oh dear, game over. As soon as it drops to random 3, it's going to choose 0, 1, or 2. So pretty much all the time. Let's show you what that looks like. If we edit this number to be lower, it's going to be absolutely unplayable. So there we go. I say unplayable. Yeah, unplayable. But what we could do is you could set it to be a counter. So if we set this to random, let's not even do that. Let's just have how difficulty. So we'll add a counter and call it diff for difficulty, and we'll say that it starts off. We had 20 before, didn't we? Let's have it start off at 20, and we just have a new condition. Let's make it harder. Every 5 seconds, we're going to subtract from counter 1. So the difficulty is going to increase because we have to set on this one every quarter of a second. We're going to say not random 3. We're going to say it's the current value of difficulty. So that's just an advanced thing that you could do, and you just need to check. You just need to insert at this point that if they manage to make it that far, that the difficulty always needs to be, as long as it's greater or equal to, well, greater is fine. As long as it's greater than 3. As long as it's greater than 3, we'll be okay, because it'll pick 0, 1, or 2. And also the amount of spawn points will make a difference. So there we go. To be fair, it's quite difficult at 20. So you can think of a nice theme for the game. If you're super smart, you could have it clear a path and have a randomly moving object above that destroys all the bad things before they get to screen, so it creates a path for you, and you could have that spawn where the coins drop, so it kind of guides you in a path the same way that Talking Tom, Gold Run and the other games show you which way to go. So I did alright. That's the game. Have a go with that. Try it out and think of a theme. You could also have the speed being variable, and on the end screen always, just add your score in, so that once you die you get a good look at what your score is, and then also you'll need to, back on the intro screen, reset your score so that it's not adding up each time, so that you can replay and replay. So I'll just save that again, and that's another example. A little bit more complicated than the others, but introducing you to some flags and some random variables there.